Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian, and today I'm going to talk about this, which is Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD from 1966. It was the inevitable follow-up of the first Dalek movie, which was such a box office success, though not still very well received by critics. But it was inevitable, and they got inspired by first Doctor story, Dalek Invasion of Earth from 1964, and they expanded that into the script for the film. And I have to say that actually this is a better story. It actually works better as a movie. Though it's very enjoyable, the first Doctor story, it doesn't quite have the same impact, and it doesn't quite get across what a lot of this story does. This is a much darker tale, I would say, than the first one. Though there's still that humour. It's not as, I think it's been toned down a bit. I mean, the Robo-Men scene with Bernard Cribbins, some people don't like that actually, but he's rather funny. And there are other bits where Bernard Cribbins, who stars as Tom Campbell, is the policeman, he adds some comic sort of relief, I suppose you might say, to some of the proceedings. But yet, generally, he's a much stronger character than I think Roy Castle was. And he plays it really well. Bernard Cribbins, of course, went on to play Wilfred, Donna's grandfather in the 10th Doctor era. So he's got good Doctor Who connections, as are a few other people in here. I think one of the most memorable people that you'll see is actually Philip Maddock, who has numerous Doctor Who appearances, and he pops up as a rather, well, shady, not particularly good character. In fact, he's one of those collaborators who would sell anything to make a book and doesn't care, has got no ethics. But there we are. That's what again makes this story so good. You when you watch it, you realise that it's what Terry Nation envisaged the Nazi invasion of England would be like, and the Daleks are like the Nazis, and you've got that feeling about that. I mean, if you think about it, the Second World War, when this was made in 1966, was only about 21 years earlier, which isn't that long, really. And you get that atmosphere within the film. That's what makes this film so good, really. It has that wonderful atmosphere. And the actors and the whole special effects, even. I know some people may laugh at the special effects, but I think they're really good. The Dalek saucer is fantastic. Okay, it may look a bit off nowadays, but the script, I think, is really good. The whole tone of the film is absolutely brilliant. I think it looks good. It's directed again by Gordon Fleming. I presume they decided, well, we'll just stick with what he did with the first film, and he did a good job on the first film, so it was just natural to put him in, and a good job he does. I think he does a really good job. Again, this film, you compare it with the first one, and you can see how much more developed this film seems to be, how more complete it feels. It doesn't feel like it's dragging. In fact, it's only 84 minutes long, and in 84 minutes, the story just goes by beautifully. Yeah, and Peter Cushing is great as well. Again, he perhaps doesn't quite have that bungley effect. He comes across as a very smart man, very nice, very kind still, and all this. But he's very smart and proves that he can also be ruthless too, if need be, protecting Earth and the people against the Daleks, who we can see are clearly evil. Basically, let's just put it straight down. And he does a brilliant job as usual. I mean, Peter Cushing, I just absolutely think he's a wonderful actor. And wouldn't it have been nice to have seen more movies carry on? It would have been great. But unfortunately, for some reason, people didn't go out and see this film like they had done with the first film. And it also got panned by the critics. It's almost at the time like they were wishing it would fail. There was almost that, you get a snobbery amongst critics. Say, hey, this is not proper. It's not proper. But let's face it, kids still love the Daleks. And adults as well. It's been a lifetime thing. I mean, now, obviously, people and critics see this differently and can see what a good film it is. There's not that same kind of prejudice and snobbery, definitely, and people have realised that it was such a really, really good film. I mean, what is interesting is that it was also on a very, very low budget, which is amazing when you think about it. And the problem was they needed more money. It definitely. And they had actually a sponsorship deal. If you look in certain scenes, you see Sugar Puffs. I mean, great. It's great because Sugar Puffs and all these cereals were often doing promotions of things like Doctor Who. And so it works quite well. They put some money into the film. But I think, even though it's still not relatively a lot of money that was put into the film, he does a lot with the money he's got, and he makes it look really good. And the way that some of the scenes filmed in London and then in the mining areas in the countryside, the whole, it has a really good look to it as the film, and that's great. It's superb. And I love that 1960s feel there with the music as well, and there's just that vibe of the 60s, something that I really get excited about when I say, I think so many great things in the 60s in terms of films and cult TV series in America as well as here in Britain. I mean, we produced some great programs, but there's a great 60s vibe, and I think in terms of sci-fi, it goes back anyhow to the 1950s, and even the British Hammer films have that sort of 60s vibe as well in terms of horror, and so it's a film that is of its time, but stands up well, and I look very fondly on this, and I'm so pleased to have it. As you see, it's a Steelbook in 4K, and the 4K does wonders. I think it makes it. I mean, I got a Blu-ray of it, and you can see compared with the Blu-ray that this is absolutely. It's definitely a step up. I know it's not going to, everybody with special effects and everything is still going to be, and grain and all that stuff. But I think it's great. And this Steelbook's lovely. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? You've got the 2 discs inside. It's just lovely, and it goes well with the other one. I mean, as I say, I don't have that many Steelbooks in my collection, but I've been building them up a little bit. I mean, this I basically got because, well, it just looked good, and I thought at price it wasn't too bad, and I thought, well, we'll get this. So I'm really happy with it, and what I would say to you is, if you've not seen this film and you do like this kind of Doctor Who vibe, then watch it. Go and have a look at it. It's great. It really is a good film. Yeah, enjoyable. As I say, I think this is the best of the 2. So there you are. So all I've got to say now is just, well, if you carry on liking what I ramble on about, then subscribe. And also, if you do like this particular video, give it a like, No, you don't have to. Nothing's compulsory. It's all laid back here. It's all laid back here. It is. So, all I've got to say now is, I'll see thee, and I'll see thee again.